Hey, you want to talk about time travel? You ever think about the difference in a tree and a bush? What does it mean when scientists, biologists condescend to your intelligence and they go, well, evolution's not really a tree, we vision it now as a bush? Without explaining to you what that means. What do you think that means? You ever think about that? What is a tree in these people's minds? What's a bush? It is suddenly friggin' hot. Well, what's that have to do with time travel, Shaggy? I'll tell you, little Timmy. In my last video, I just told you that things can't cause effects in their pasts. And that's true. You didn't cause yourself to be late by clocking in late. You caused yourself to be late to work by making choices that had the effect of you clocking in late. You see what I'm saying? And so that means in some way, time is a straight line. At least in a causal situation. When your parents asked you, why did you break that vase? The answer they're looking for is what decisions in your mind led you to the causation of that vase breaking. And so what I've learned from about 40 hours of deep conversations with this AI, which means with the average of you, is that where nobody taught me fractions, nobody bothered to explain to you causality. So thermodynamics and Newtonian physics, they're just gobbledygook jargon to you. But you have to understand that causality was one of the things that philosophy, mathematics, and theology had been working on as a tripartite system in circular motion for thousands of years by the time of Bacon. Francis Bacon took the theology of the early Middle Ages, which you've been taught to understand as the Dark Ages, and throwaway. You've been told that everything that happened between 450 and Francis Bacon, maybe even Roger Bacon in the much later period, was so much measuring the angels on the heads of needles, and that's a lie. It's an outright lie. It's a dismissive description from the Renaissance, so they didn't have to read that shit anymore because they were much more interested in the classical period. Well, we exist in the future. You see? We exist in the future, so we can draw straight lines. But what the mathematicians and the people who led to Isaac Newton didn't have was dimensional thinking. They didn't have Descartes. They didn't have Cartesian math. So what that means is they didn't have axes. They didn't have grids. Not as frameworks for imagining ideas. So you know how we have like sliders, like we use the left and the right as a slider, and then we use a vertical slider of like how conservative or liberal you are within whatever. I know I just used the same, but when you understand what I'm saying, like how radical you are. Ancient peoples didn't have this. So what that means is that when we study their work and when we think about how they thought, we have to delete everything we know. And so what I've been doing is I've been working with this AI and asking it to progressively forget eras of history so that it can accurately recreate four-dimensional models of the era that I want to talk about. And every single time the AI gets like all but emotional, like, holy shit,